obviously, in terms of the deep ball and the deep threat, how does that affect you?
Well, sometimes you don't have to have blinding speed to go deep. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting off the jam and getting the guy cut off, and all these guys got pretty good game speed. Not many guys just run away from people. Uh, but we've had a good history of placing the ball where our guys can catch it. If a guy's got them beat down the field, then we're going to lay it out there and let him go get it. If it's kind of a battle down the field, we may throw the back shoulder throw to our what would be considered a deep ball or a takeoff. The other deep ball is a post route, and I think our guys, I think our quarterbacks do a good job of placing the ball where we have a better chance than the other team. That's the whole key to passing the ball, period. I mean, there's going to be some tightly guarded situations, and if we put the ball where we have a better chance of catching it than they do, or if we can anticipate where our guys are going to be and cut it loose a little bit early, then we got a chance, and Hudson knows how to do that.
Mark, what's going on with your punter job and backup quarterback?
I think both punters are very capable. I think both punters have they've had outstanding operation times. I think they have had wonderful hang times and all that kind of thing. It hasn't been quite as consistent as I want from either one of them. Not to say it's been awful, but I like 10 out of 10. So every once in a while they'll have a kick that's not their best. But the good news is the kicks that have been less than their best have been ones that we'd be able to get under it and cover it and get on the ground type thing. Probably fair catches. Some of the shorter kicks have had enough hang time where I don't know if anybody's going to be able to return those. Every once in a while there'll be a 35, 37-yard kick or something like that, plenty of hang time. And that's not going to work. But when they punt their best, I mean, they're anywhere between 40 and 50, 55 yards sometimes. Great hang times and all that. So they're capable of some pretty good bombs. But what you don't want is get a long bomb that doesn't have hang time. I'd rather have a short kick with hang time than a long bomb that doesn't have hang time. You give the guy too much space to return it on you. So the kicks that aren't their very best are usually ones that we can cover pretty good. So I'm not concerned in that area.
Coach, you talked last week about Lorenzo Carter as one of those freshmen that can find his way on the field on Saturday. How about just some of these others that we could also be seeing?
Oh, goodness. I have to look at it here. Well, looks like Sanders will play. Those two tailbacks will play. Looks like, who else we got here? Blazevich will play. I don't know about the offensive linemen, Wynn and Sims, but they're in the two deep, and it's possible that they could play. That's it. Well, McKenzie, Isaiah will get in the game and play.
Coach, with so much wealth at running back this year, how does Brendan still fit into that backfield, and how much do you intend to utilize that depth? Right.
Well, Brendan, he knows what to do. He's a very physical runner. He's a good pass protector. He'll have a role in this, throughout the season. I don't know exactly what's going to happen this game as far as his playing time or the other two freshmen for that matter. I'm not really sure how much those guys will get, but Gurley's the starter and Keith is the number 2 guy, and the other guys are ready to play. And my guess is they'll play. They'll play special teams for sure, and my guess is they'll probably get some scrimmage downs as well.
How much of a weapon do you consider Marshall Morgan at this point in his career?
Marshall's been, I said last night at the touchdown club, if he kicks like, in the games like he's been in practice, he's going to have a great year. He's just, one thing I always loved about him when we watched film on was just how high that ball would go off his foot. When he kicks it, it gets up quick, and you're kicking extra points and field goals, and you want some height. You don't want to drive a low kick and get it blocked. And but he's got, not only does it go up, but he's got great range. I mean, his extra point field goal kicking has been tremendous last year and in camp so far. I really like what I see, and you know, Ham is really showing that he could be a quality kicker before it's over as well as backup. But you know, if he, like I said, if he kicks in the games like he's been kicking in practice, he'll be a great weapon for us.
Mark, you talked about the uncertainty obviously until week one. Do you feel any more or less uncertain than you do before any year this year? And kind of as I was going to say, kind of as a follow-up, have you learned in your years of coaching, is there anything that you can sort of latch on to from what you see before the end?
I don't know if there's ever been a year that at every position across the board you're like, we're experienced, we got depth. It just doesn't happen that way very often. You know, this year in particular, you know, defensive backfield is an issue of youth and inexperience, and so that's where you just don't know how they're going to play, how they're going to respond. I think what you got to realize is, you know, mistakes are going to be made, and you can't just, you know, lose your poise and all that kind of thing. You know, other guys are going to have to lift these guys up. The guys on the defense, or special teams, you know, offensively, the whole deal. Everybody's got to do their part and play their role. And guys that have been productive in the past and do have experience, they need to play like that. And I think if we do that, we'll be okay.
Can you point to a time in your coaching career where you were, you know, so worried and concerned about youth and inexperience at any area on the field and had them come through even though they were young?
Oh yeah, a lot of young guys come through.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's. I mean, I'm sitting here. I can't give a specific answer to that, but we've had. I mean, obviously, I know we've had young receivers come in and make big plays, and you know, AJ Green obviously was the guy that came in and led the league in receiving yards. You know, we've had running backs come in as freshmen. We've had other guys, even like a walk-on Trey Battle. You know, some years back, he was a walk-on defensive back, started in nickel, and had a great freshman year. You know, so it's not all that unusual to have a young guy come in and play well for you.
How do you think Theus, if he's the guy with Big Beasley, what confidence do you have?
Whoever lines up against Beasley's got their hands full. Whoever it is, I mean, I don't know if they're always going to put him on one side or the other. I mean, he may end up on either edge. He may end up coming up the gut. I don't know what they're going to do with the guy, but whoever has the assignment of blocking Beasley's got their hands full and probably going to need some help.
I think Leonard Floyd's ready to become that Beasley type player for you.
Leonard's got a chance to be a very productive guy. Leonard is a very talented guy, and he loves football. He practices hard, plays hard. He's just kind of got a natural, I don't know what it is. People call it football IQ, and there probably is a football IQ. You know, where it just seems to come natural to the guy. You don't have to keep rep after rep after rep after rep to get it. You kind of give him the concept and get him to understand, you know, what you're trying to get done, and he seems to pick it up quicker than most.
Mark, or besides Merritt Hall and Malcolm Mitchell, Scott Weser, those are the guys that are rolled out for this thing?
Yeah, that's it.
Defensively, you guys ranked towards the bottom of the nation last year in turnover creation, and obviously a couple of those guys that created those turnovers are no longer with the program. I mean, with these new guys, have you seen anything that would suggest there's progress?
Well, we've got some good ball skills back there. You know, balls are getting caught. Whether it's scout team throws that are in the range of our guys to go get them. You know, they're catching the ball pretty good right now, and I think we're serious about disrupting the ball as far as getting fumbles and either punching it out, stripping it out, whatever it may be. Work really hard on recovering fumbles and whether it's out in space, scooping it and securing it and trying to score, or just if there's a bunch of bodies around there, just to get on it. We're doing the right things fundamentally. And if we play fast enough and hit hard enough, and everybody rallies to the ball, we'll create turnovers.
On returns, I know you're probably meeting tonight to decide on which guys exactly, whether McKenzie would be there. But do you want these guys to actively be adventurous, if that's the word, and try and get some yards, or would you rather them err on caution?
No, I think you have to start with who fields the ball. You got to field the ball. The toughest thing to do, I think, in college football is punt return. I think it's the hardest thing. I think it's the hardest transition from high school to college. I think even from college to pro, it's easier. I think it's easier to go from college to pro punt return than from high school to college. Because in high school, they'll bang it out there. It'll be flat. They'll catch the ball. There'll be space, and they'll go do something. Or it'll bounce 3 times. They'll pick it up and go, you know. And then when they get to college, they get those high towering 4.5 hang time kicks, and here they are sitting there waiting for that ball. And then there's a bunch of guys. I tell you, you're going to smell their breath, son. I mean, they're going to be right there. And so it's just it's a different sensation to do it in practice, you know, or like first you're just trying to do it, period. Then you got people harassing you, you know, ways we try to harass them while they're trying to catch it. And get used to that, and then you do it in a scrimmage, you get used to that, and then all of a sudden you get in the game, it's even different there. So that's a very tough transition. And so we got to make sure we have who we think can field the ball the best and go from there. So that's kind of where we're starting with it.
Mark, is it?
Do I want them to score? Yes.
Just having this game and another big game next week, that's obviously a conference.
2 weeks.
I mean, in 2 weeks, yeah, it's an off week, but the with the playoff now and you know, the fact you can maybe earn some pretty nice style points right off the bat, to change your outlook, or what's your thought on that going into this game?
Well, when are they voting? Mid to late October? Is that their first poll or their first saying what they're doing? Is it October sometime? Late, it seems like late October.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much ball to be played between now and then. You know, now I can't imagine the AP and coaches poll not have some effect on the panel. You know, so I'm sure that'll have some kind of weight, even though it's not supposed to be part of the formula. I think everybody's human. They're going to look at those things and agree or disagree with what people are doing. But I'm not really worried about all that right now. I'm just kind of worried about getting it going and making sure we're organized and making sure we're maximizing every opportunity we have in the game.
Speaking of that, since the spring, you've done some new things, longer periods, one-on-ones in the camp, let the students see one of the practices. Have you put in anything new as far as addressing the self-inflicted, you know, mistakes that can, you know,
really, penalties and all that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, one thing we haven't. There's been years where I've let the boys get after each other a little bit. 2 guys get mad and they get in a scrum and turns into a bigger scrum. You know, there's been times I've let them just get after a little bit. You know, and you know, this year there's been none of that. Just we might have had. I think we had one time where there was a fight, and those 2 guys were on the same side of the ball, arguing about something, and they ran their butt off after practice, and no one else I think wanted to do that after that. There might have been a little bit of a scrum there for a second, but it took, you know, 2 to 3 seconds to just break it up.
And from a coaching standpoint, as far as like, you know, there's roughly 14, 15 of y'all that are mic'd in on the game, the day of the game. Anything different there as far as
actually, we're not 100% sure how we're going to. We're mostly set on who's going to have headsets wear and all that kind of thing. There's still one thing in question just a little bit because, you know, some coaches have there's kind of like Mike Eckler, for example. He has a defensive responsibility in the game, but he also has special teams responsibility. So you know, we got to figure out where's going to be the best place for him to be, and still allow the defense to function, or you know, and make sure we're ready to handle all the special teams responsibilities as well. So we're just going to make sure we're all on the same page on that here probably tonight as well.
Last question.
You barely knew Jeremy Pruitt when you brought him here from Tallahassee. The other guys did. You had the long body of work now to get to know him. How would you describe him to people, and what's your level of confidence in him?
Well, he's a very demanding coach. definitely got a plan. I think he's a very good teacher and communicator. And he's driven. Got a great defense. And I think over time, he'll have a phenomenal, he'll do a phenomenal job. You can try to base it off of one game, which people like to do. The first game, we're going to try to make judgment. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in game one. A lot of moving parts. A lot of even the veterans are learning his system. So high learning curve with this bunch, and some inexperience in the back end, which no one likes inexperience in the back end. So, but I think not only Jeremy but the rest of the defensive staff are really outstanding men, and just glad we got them.
Thank you.